With everything that's been going on in the world lately, we focus a lot on this channel on geopolitics and a lot of what's going on at the national level. While I do think it's important to try to cut through the propaganda that's pushed by this administration in the mainstream media, I do acknowledge that what happens at the national level doesn't particularly affect my day-to-day life as much as I'd like to think. The true fight for freedom and liberty always begins at the state and local levels. Arguably, one of the most important positions within a state's government is the head of the executive branch, the governor. In addition to serving as commander-in-chief of the state's National Guard and possessing significant line-item veto power over the state budget, the governor also embodies and represents the core values of the state. And in November, Pennsylvanians will choose their next governor for the next 4 years. Josh Shapiro, our current governor, who was elected as a Democrat in 2022, is running for re-election. His first term, however, wasn't without controversy. On top of consistently spending more than the state makes and draining our reserves to pay for his ever-expanding budget, he's also the highest paid governor in the United States and has been caught accepting lavish gifts as campaign contributions, as well as using mysterious funds from donor accounts to attend not just one, but 2 Super Bowls. There's also an ongoing investigation concerning Shapiro's using of $1 million in taxpayer revenue to enhance the security of his private Montgomery County residence. If you scroll through his Twitter, it's hard to find a tweet that doesn't mention Donald Trump. It almost seems like an obsession. Shapiro seems more concerned with scoring brownie points with the Democratic Party by publicly opposing every single thing that Donald Trump and his administration does, rather than actually doing what's in the best interest of Pennsylvanians. He's also ignoring the fact that Pennsylvania, a swing state, and majority of its citizens actually did vote for Donald Trump to be in office. Essentially, what I'm saying here is going against every single thing that Donald Trump says is also going against more than half of what the people in Pennsylvania actually want and voted for. Now let's take a look at the Republican nominee, Stacey Garrity, who is the current PA treasurer. So far during her campaign, the only thing that she has made clear that she stands for is whatever Donald Trump tells her to, and Israel. It's impossible to find one of her campaign ads where she's not waving around Trump's endorsement like some sort of golden ticket, and in my opinion, she's on the wrong side of one of the big hot button issues, which is American funding for Israel. Garrity, as the treasurer in Pennsylvania, invested $45 million in taxpayer money in Israeli bonds since the October 7th attacks in 2023, a move that overrode earlier concerns within the Treasury that the bonds could be a risky investment. Now, ethic experts are even raising concerns that the treasurer, Stacey Garrity, campaigned at a gala hosted by a firm in which she purchased millions of dollars in bonds for Israel in her official role. Garrity is attempting to get elected purely off of the strength of Donald Trump's endorsement and money from the powerful Israel lobbies, and if elected, would truly just be another puppet of Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu, none of which should be relevant at the state level at all. We need a true representative for Pennsylvania's core values of freedom, liberty, and justice for all. That is why, as a Pennsylvanian, I am endorsing the Libertarian candidate Ken Krawchuk for governor. I believe he truly represents the core value of what Pennsylvanians want for their state. And not only can he fix our budget issues so we can continue to add funds to our reserve accounts instead of wasting through them, but also bring Pennsylvania's education sector from the bottom of the national average. I believe he can help give Pennsylvanians, their children, a proper education. Now, Ken was nice enough to join us for a conversation on his visions for Pennsylvania and his plans if he would be elected as governor. And he needs your help to be the first libertarian governor in the United States. So please visit kenkforpa.com to help support him, whether that be through volunteering or through donations. But without further ado, let's get into this special episode of the Vitko Verdict, where I interview the Libertarian candidate for the governor of Pennsylvania, Ken Krawchuk. Welcome to the show, Ken, and thank you for doing this.
Thanks for the invite. It's good to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, why don't you just give us a quick rundown of your political background and what initially drew you into politics as a libertarian?
Well, political background. I spent almost 20 years as a Democrat where I thought I could use your means for my ends. And the book which turned me around was none other than good old Atlas Shrugged, Ayn Rand's epic novel. Somebody handed it to me in the mid 80s, and it took me a while to turn it around, get to where I should be. And in 1993, I joined the Libertarian Party and never looked back.
Wow. Funny enough, I actually just did a last Wednesday hour-long podcast on the book Atlas Shrugged. And it was actually specifically tied to thorium technology and how Ayn Rand was researching a movie called Top Secret, and it got bought out from whoever she was producing it from by Truman because of the National Security Act was going in place, and they didn't think it was going to be in place in time. And she interviewed Oppenheimer and everybody that was involved in the Manhattan Project because that was what the movie was about, Top Secret. And during those interviews, she discovered thorium and how the government was trying to hide the technology. And essentially, my whole podcast was kind of the deep dive third layer of Atlas Shrugged of how it actually could have been her discovering the government hiding thorium technology and how John Galt could actually be tied to a real life doctor that discovered thorium. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, interesting.
Check that one out.
Because we got a connection here. One of my novels is Atlas Snubbed.
Oh, yeah.
Parody sequel to Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged.
Oh, that's hilarious.
After my 2002 race, I always do this after a big race. I'll sit down and I'll reread Atlas Shrugged just to regain my philosophical footing. And if you've ever read the book, at the end, there are people fighting in the streets, mass starvation, the United States is falling, and it stops. And I thought, I was complaining to my wife. It's Christmas time. We're doing our traveling up north. And I said, somebody should write a sequel to that. Stopped at the best part. And she said, well, why don't you do it? And I thought, that's pretty cool. So I did, because Ayn Rand, while she is our matriarch of the Libertarian Party, she did have a few things that didn't quite line up. So it was my chance to address some of the political problems with the book that she put together.
Awesome. I actually need to check that out. Atlas Snubbed. That's a
AtlasSnubbed.com.
AtlasSnubbed.com. Yeah, definitely check that out. Yeah, that's interesting. So I guess back on the subject of Pennsylvania governor, what would prompted your decision to run for governor again in 2026?
Well, to give you a little history, I ran in 1998 against Tom Ridge. I also ran again in 2002 against Ed Rendell, and then a third time in 2018 against Tom Wolfe. But each time, I really had the same reason, and it boils down to something right out of that movie Network. I'm mad as hell, and I can't take it anymore. All those years, nothing has changed. What, a quarter century, and we still have the same problems. They're all just getting worse. I have a lot of solutions, and the same solutions I was talking about back in 2002, back in 98, they're still valid today, except now I'm a little more polished. I've been a Toastmaster since 1997. So I'm a little bit more adept at presenting the message. So, and I asked the wife, and the party wanted me to run in 2022, but she said, not this year, not this year. But this year she gave me the green light, and it's like, hallelujah.
Yeah, because it is all about the family.
Yes. Family, job, politics. They're my priorities in that sequence. Although now that I'm entrepreneur, work for myself, job, it gets moved around a little bit. It's pretty cool.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So what new unique message do you hope to deliver for voters disillusioned with both Democrats and Republicans this time around?
Good grief. There's so many messages. The biggest one I'm doing is a huge Pennsylvania issue, education. Vitko, do you know that in Pennsylvania, more than half the kids cannot read at grade level? And 2/3 can't do math at grade level. The government has a monopoly on education here in Pennsylvania. Something like 90%, 92% of all kids go to the same school system, the government school system. And like any monopoly, the costs are high, quality is low, choices pretty much non-existent. So I figured that I should call myself the education candidate this time around. And I'm not holding anything back. Next week, we're planning to file a lawsuit against the General Assembly and the governor to privatize the school system. They've had their chance and they've blown it. Obviously, if more than half the kids can't read, 2/3 can't do math. Also, the cost per student to educate is on average over $23,000. But your typical private education, non-elite schools, is only about $11,000, less than half the cost. Pennsylvania Constitution gives the state the authority to run the schools. Article 3, Section 14 says that the state shall run a thorough and efficient method of public education. Well, it's not thorough if the kids can't read or do math, and it's not efficient if it's more than twice the cost of a private education. So we'll be filing suit next week in Commonwealth Court to force the divestiture of the school system and go to the private schools. And the way to do that is to take the $11,000 that the state is currently spending per student and direct that directly into the individual student with an education savings account. And the parents can choose any school they want with that $11,000. That way you could bypass this monopoly that the government has on education. And you get a private education for your kid. And the best part of it is that $11,000 that the state is currently spending, that will cover the entire cost of education. That means we can eliminate the property tax for schools entirely. Property tax is one of the biggest issues here in Pennsylvania. For example, our house, we were paying probably 4/5 of our property tax goes to the schools. And locally, our schools are 25,000, over 25,000 per kid. Vitko, that's got to stop. That's why I'm running. I am the education candidate. Going to file suit to force the divestiture. And let's hope that the kids get a private education and homeowners will no longer have to pay that ridiculous onerous property tax. How's that sound?
I mean, it sounds wonderful. I couldn't agree more. I mean, I'm moving into starting a family with my girlfriend, and we're already talking about education, and we've already decided that homeschool is just going to be the best option just for what we have as a school choice for right now. But I just don't think enough parents have what I describe it as a school choice, where there's other institutions that really you should be able to easily enroll your child in without all these different hurdles. And you shouldn't be forced to just go to a single public school that all they do is teach to a standardized national test, and they don't actually teach the individual child anything of use at all. So,
you know, it goes beyond that. In Pennsylvania, they have a master curriculum for education, a master plan, they call it. There is no requirement for any school to follow it. There's no feedback to how well it works or doesn't work. It's just thrown out there, and the districts do what they want.
Yes, and I understand that Pennsylvania consistently ranks near the bottom nationally, so I don't understand how this isn't a top issue on everybody's card.
I am making it the top issue. Now, the Democrats, they say, oh, let's throw more money at it. But a Standard & Poor's study showed that 1/3 of the best schools are getting less than average funding, and 1/3 of the worst schools are getting more than the average funding. So this is not a question of money. This is a question of leadership. And right now, the legislature has definitely abdicated that leadership. That's why we want to give that education savings account directly to the parents. Now, what could you do as a homeschooler? What could you do with $11K per year?
Oh, I mean, you'd have just the best of the best available for your child. I mean, it wouldn't be wasted, especially for each individual child. It would be insane. And especially all the extracurriculars on top of what you could do. There's so many third spaces already opening up for children that are homeschooled that bring all the children together, whether it be study groups or going to different aquariums or different learning experience museums. Like we already have an abundance of those opening up. Especially, I'm in Montgomery County, and pretty much right in between Philadelphia and Lancaster. So you kind of get the best of both worlds, where you can go to the farmland and learn about all the history out there, and go to the original farmers market, and go to Philadelphia too and get the best of what's out there. A lot of that you don't learn in public school. Like,
that's right. We're big fans of the Franklin Institute downtown Philadelphia. I've been going
Yes.
since I was a kid, man.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're looking for a field trip, I just spent a week on the Appalachian Trail. I
Mm-hmm.
do that every year in March, going back to my college days. Over 50 years I've been doing it.
Oh, that's
That
awesome.
is ultimate school. We raised our kids out there on the Appalachian Trail. They all know
Exactly. Yeah.
they know how to
That's
build a
stuff you
fire.
never
They know how
learn
to
in
speak.
school. Yeah, and
Right,
important stuff. Yes,
right.
exactly.
And
And
I
that's what you
laugh at
need
my
more of.
kids. We go out there. I laugh and I say, "Ha ha! You think this is fun?"
I mean, hey, I mean, it is funny. It is. It's something that we definitely have to get back to, and a lot of people don't understand the choice. I mean, a lot of people don't get the school choice of availability to them. So that savings account would just be like a wonderful idea, I think. Um,
Yep,
Especially because Pennsylvania, they face very, very high property tax already.
yep.
Um, so how would you use like a line item veto or other tools to cut government spending and reduce the tax burden on residents?
Oh man, talk about the tax burden. The cost of government in Pennsylvania has been rising at more than 3 times the rate of inflation for over 50 years. Doesn't matter if it's a
Mhm.
Democrat in there or a Republican, direction is always up, up, up. But when I'm governor, that trend will end. I'm going to use the powers granted to me by the Pennsylvania Constitution, and I'm going to use the veto. I'm going to veto every single tax increase that crosses my desk. So I'll be able to hold the line on the growth of the cost of government. And as you just mentioned, I also have the power of the line item veto. That means I can cross out anything that I don't like in any bill. Now, they could always override me, but Pennsylvania, you know how balanced it is. I don't think that my veto is to be overridden. And
Mhm.
I'm looking at, I added up, it's like billions of dollars. Do you know that Pennsylvania gives $200 million a year to horse racing? Are you a horse racing fan?
I'm not. I actually did not know that that is on our one of our budgets, but I know our budget is ridiculous. I've been looking into it a little bit here and there as much as you can.
Yeah. Well, good. If you're a horse racing fan, don't vote for me. You're going to lose
You
$200 million.
could- I mean, it would be better if it's in the private sector according to the markets anyway, and let the markets dictate, what
Yep.
horse racing gets monetarily.
I've asked around in the inside circles in Harrisburg about why we do that, and the answer I keep getting is they have wonderful lobbyists.
I mean, it's usually you follow the money, that's where you get your answer. It's kind of the always how it
Yeah.
always how it ends up.
And
So I
it's
mean,
not just the horse racing. We spend over $200 million a year on sports stadiums. What
yeah.
they can pay Bryce Harper millions of dollars, but no, 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 they can't pay for their own stadium.
Hmm.
So, and movie industry, $100 million goes to the movie industry here in Pennsylvania. The
Hmm.
fine wine and spirits store, another 100 million, over and over and over. And Vitko, it's not just the big things. I'm also looking at the little things. What I want to do when they put on the "Welcome to Pennsylvania" signs, it says Josh and Shapiro, governor. Cross that out. Stop doing that. Save a little bit of money. You know,
Hmm.
why do we have dozens of different license plates? You got car, truck, house car, trailer. Why not just one with a number on it? Save a
Yeah.
little bit of money there. And instead of these signs that say how fast you're going, just put a junk police cruiser by the side of the road. That'd stop people from doing stuff.
Yeah.
So there are big things I can do to save money, little things I could do to save money. Speed bumps. They just slow down emergency vehicles. They ruin snowplows. I can't wait to be governor. I'm telling you.
Yeah. I mean, there is so much waste, and every time somebody gets in, they don't cut back the waste. They just add more to it and just compound it. And
Mm-hmm.
I think even this year or that's 2025, Pennsylvania has gone over budget and hasn't made as much under Shapiro every single year. Historically, I'm pretty sure he spent more money to get elected than he's ever made in the 6 years he's been in office. But we don't even have to go into that, I guess.
Well, I think it's important to go into that because a large chunk of Josh Shapiro's money is coming from outside of the state.
Hmm.
Pennsylvania already has a law saying no corporate contributions. I want to get a law out there saying no out of state contributions.
Hmm. No,
It's
I
only
agree.
fair.
I
Only
mean, I
Pennsylvania.
wish money should be all out of politics in general, but that's like the biggest ask of nobody wants to just be grassroots funded anymore. They need the giant PACs to back them.
Uh-huh.
So
I don't know how you would do that though, because when I spend money on a campaign, I would you want to limit that? Money is
not the
free speech.
individual, just corporations and
Well,
businesses and PACs, I guess,
corporations
super PACs.
corporations already cannot do it in Pennsylvania. It has to be an
Yeah,
individual.
so that's where we're good. See, I guess Pennsylvania specifically is already good. I'm when we're talking about like Senate and Congress and
Like Citizens
all of
United and all
those.
that.
Yeah, exactly.
Corporations are people too. No, they ain't.
Yeah.
Man,
So,
these lawyers.
yeah. It is, yeah, it is interesting, especially when, like we were said before, when you follow the money and where they're going from, and then what they end up backing or what they do in office usually tends to go with what PAC backed them or what company. It usually always helps them, or the contract goes to somebody adjacent to them, and it's always about choosing winners and giving $100 million tax cuts to these corporations to come into PA. And like those are like the certain issues that I take with, like I say, we're spending so much of
Mhm.
our taxpayer money and then framing it as if like they're investing in PA, but it's actually we're just investing in ourselves because we're the ones giving them the money to put back into
Yep.
the community.
Yep.
So
And you touch on that. The governor has control of a $300 million slush fund. Just
mhm.
glad hand that money to anybody he feels like. It's awful.
Yeah, it gets ludicrous once you actually like dig into the numbers. And like you were saying, like even with small cuts and you start making these cuts here and there that just, silly things that should be given to the private sector anyway, you actually start making a difference of like, oh yeah, we actually didn't need to be paying all of this income tax and property tax the entire time, because the government can actually fund itself if you do it correctly.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the interesting things about my plan for the education savings account. It does not require a tax increase. It's just taking the
Mm,
money that's already being spent and funneling it to the parents instead of to the bureaucrats
yeah,
in the school districts.
yeah, if anything, it'd be a different way of a tax refund where you're still making sure it's allocated towards educational purposes in a way. It's
Correct.
like, yeah,
And you
no,
get rid of property taxes too.
yes, no, I 100% agree. Property taxes is, I mean, you don't really own anything as long as you're paying property taxes. So
Uh-huh.
it's a
Well, you,
yes.
you can't get rid of the entire property tax. I have to be honest about that because there are a
Mhm.
few things that the county does that are necessary.
Yeah,
It could be moved to the free market, for example, safety inspections,
true.
traffic lights, streets, even police protection
Yes,
could be privatized. So what I would like
correct.
to do is free the property tax to allow you to choose your provider for those services. And the money, instead of
Hmm.
it going to your local county, will go to the person you choose instead. And that way you completely eliminate the property tax, but you're still going to have to pay something because you're still going to need trash collection. You're still going to need traffic lights. You're still going to need courts, all these different things like that.
Yeah, yes, exactly. But like you said, when you make it more of a voluntary process, it's a lot easier and a lot more uh, blanket of like, hey, if you're living here, these are the services that you can get. You can pay for these certain services, and then also different communities pay for different services, and they're not all blanket. So, well, you can go into a cheaper community that may have less services, but that's what you're paying for because you're signing that contract voluntarily. It's not coerced from you and
That's
taken
right.
from you.
I
Yep.
live in Abington Township, just north of Philadelphia. And a number of
Hmm.
years ago, they nationalized the trash collection here. You have to use their trash collectors, even though
Wow.
private collectors are cheaper. I
Yeah.
went to the township meeting when they were first setting that up. And I asked, wouldn't it be cheaper to go to a private company? And they said, oh, yeah, but we really want to help our workers. I said, wait a
Yep.
minute. The job
Always
still
how
needs
it
to be
is.
done. You could just take your workers and shift them over to the private sector.
Yeah, it's like the
Politician.
private sector don't also have workers that need to work. It's like the same,
That's
like
right.
it's always the same thing. It's like it's
Yep.
about their specific workers and not anybody else. And if they can take the government win and be like, well, now we're the only company that can work here, we're the monopoly, they'll take it. And The government just has to stop handing out these checks with that. And especially, like you said, it's always more than what it would be given to the free market and letting the private sector decide what the price should be.
Yep. And, the same question comes up when I talk about privatizing the schools. They say, oh, you're going to fire my teacher. No, I'm not. Your teacher is going to transfer over because these private schools aren't going to be able to hold all those kids. They're going to grow. They're going to buy the existing buildings. They're going to hire the existing teachers. I was going to say,
they're going to hire the teachers that you're losing. There probably will be more teacher jobs, to be honest, if you do the math with the extra buildings. And if you actually divide the amount of kids per teacher ratio, like appropriately, and the market will decide that, there will probably be a lot more teacher jobs.
That's right. One thing really gets me. They come up and say, oh, you're just going to cherry pick the best teachers. And I look around and say, yeah. That's what I want. Mm-hmm. I want the best teachers to be teaching my kids. Mm-hmm. The crappy teachers, let them go get a job at 7-Eleven or something like that.
Yeah. And the market decides that with salaries. The good teachers will start seeing a higher paying salary because they're not all blanket the same from the government. And that'll also incentivize the teachers to do a better job because you can get a better job, a better salary for doing better, teach at a better school. That option's almost off the table in this public sector. It's kind of sad.
Everything the government touches costs more, less efficient. And you asked me in the beginning, why am I running? I think I just gave you about 20 reasons in the last 20 minutes.
Oh, 100%. And I'm pretty sure as we keep going through this, it'll just keep growing the list of reasons.
There are lots more.
There really is. So I'd like to talk about next pardoning victimless criminals like nonviolent drug offenders. How do you feel about that, and would you be open to implementing mass pardons and ending the drug war in Pennsylvania?
Well, pardon me for being rude, but I must correct you there. There's no such thing as a victimless criminal. They're not a criminal. If there's no victim, there's no crime. They shouldn't be there at all. And if we could focus on drug users, why are we putting pot smokers in prison? One of my favorite sound bites, this is back from 1998, is that we're releasing murderers and rapists from our overcrowded prisons to make room for pot-smoking Grateful Dead fans. Vitko, that's insane. So it's not just pot smokers. It's what about somebody who is carrying a concealed weapon? Oh, wait a minute. You don't have a carry permit. Well, excuse me. The Pennsylvania Constitution, Article 1, Section 21, says the right to bear arms shall not be questioned. I have no question what that means. They get pardoned too. Anybody who's there, if there's no crime, no victim, they get pardoned. Day one, the first day that I'm in the Harrisburg office there, I'm going to start the ball rolling to pardon all of these victims. They're the victims.
No, yeah. That was very, very well put. Like, as you said, if there's no victim, then how could it even be considered a crime? Like,
right.
Yeah. No, the war on drugs is just all they have done is create the same exact thing that abolishing alcohol did back in the day, but now it's a cartel that's in Mexico instead of, in America. But, it's still the same thing. They're just giving power to the criminals.
I call the war on drugs a jobs program for narcotics officers.
Yeah, I mean, they created the DEA for a reason. They just create more jobs. Anytime a president wants to create more jobs, they just create another branch in the government and was like, oh, hey, look at all these jobs I created this year. It's just like
they can't create anything. Look at Milei in Argentina. The president of Argentina said that. Just the government creates nothing. They steal from you.
They take.
Yeah. There's other things that I can't say in front of a mixed audience.
I do enjoy Milei. I am glad that Argentina is going the correct route with having a libertarian run the country, and I think the success of that could echo throughout the globe and not only America. I've already been seeing the Libertarian global alliance get together and all of the allies through a bunch of different countries starting libertarian parties. And it's really interesting to see.
I agree. These are exciting times.
I agree. I think we're in a very, very good opportunity of everyone who's so disillusioned with the uni war party, as I like to say, or the duopoly that is just the same party. It's one single party that works together to never solve anything, to make sure there's perpetual issues to run on. Once people are at this point where they're so disillusioned with both of them, it's time for the Libertarian Party to shine. So I think
Yep.
we have some big shoes to fill.
I have a little ditty that I say about that. Republicans are red, Democrats are blue. Neither one gives a damn about you.
That's yeah. That is so true. I actually like that one. I might have to steal that one from you.
Oh, please. A lot of my good sound bites I've stolen too. Like one about gay rights. What's good for the goose and the gander is good for the goose and the goose and the gander and the gander. So I borrowed that from somebody else.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. And yeah, that's a good one. I actually do. I do like that one too. So I guess since you brought up gay rights, you know, historically supported same-sex marriage rights. Are there any specific criminal justice or personal liberty reforms that you would prioritize as governor for that route specifically?
What would I champion in this?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that right now there are laws that create second-class citizens in Pennsylvania?
Mm-hmm.
They call it human relations or human rights or something like that, some oxymoronic phrase. So what they do is they give certain rights to certain groups of people. For example, they just passed one, a couple of months ago, protecting hairstyles. It's now a protected class. And people with special hairstyles, they have rights and remedies available to them that you and I don't have. By the way, nice stash, man. I love it.
Oh, thank you.
I can't grow one. But why are they giving these people extra rights? My degree is in physics, and I look at it in a more Einsteinian way. Instead of giving them these extra rights, what you're doing is you're pushing down the rest of us. You're making second-class citizens. With every single protected class that you add, you're pushing down people who are outside of the class. I'm against second-class citizenship. I'm against gay rights. I'm against women's rights. I'm against black rights, white rights, all those rights. I'm in favor of only one thing: human rights, period. Let's cut out all this nonsense.
No, it's a fair. I always kind of looked at it as the same, because when you start just putting people into categories and saying, well, these people have these rights and this, you're exactly correct. You're creating second class citizens somewhere along the way, and it should just be human rights and everybody has the same.
Yep. See, and that's one of the issues that I have with trans. I have several trans friends. A guy I went to high school with, he went trans and everything. I have no problem with it. You could dress like you want. Gender appropriation, I call it. You could do what you want, but don't force me to do it. Like this one guy,
Yeah.
Bill, I knew from high school. I'm Sybil now. It's like, Bill, who are you kidding? You know, you have an X and a Y chromosome, period. Oh, wait, no periods, right? You're a guy, not a girl. Apologies.
No, I feel the same. I feel like at the end of the day, people individually, you can do whatever you want. And you can be whatever you want. But again, don't infringe on anyone else's individual rights. And I also just have problems with indoctrination of children as well into some of these issues. And it's because there's no reason you just keep the kids out of it. At the end of the day, like, if I have a child that wants to be a tomboy, and she's a girl, then she could grow up a tomboy. And then when she's 18, decides, actually, I'm trans, then that's okay. As an adult, you've made that decision. It's the same with like getting a tattoo or something. You don't want to make something that's permanent on you or to you that you're not fully developed enough to understand the decision that you're making. And I just believe, you know, it should be given to the individual, but when you're at an appropriate age.
Yep, I understand. And I agree completely. And you know, that's one of the benefits of privatizing the schools. You could send your kid to a school that doesn't do that nonsense.
Yeah.
Or if you like it, send your kid to a school that does that nonsense.
No, exactly. And that is part of living in the true, what libertarians really want is just choice. It's like, we don't care. We're not tell you how to live. We think the government shouldn't tell you how to live, and the markets and the free society. And if you want to live in a community that all believes in that, then like, go ahead. Like that's your individual choice. So
I agree. You know, I have a touchstone I keep coming back to. When everybody asks a question, maybe it's something brand new, I go back to my single rule. You have the right to live your life your way without interference, provided only that you respect the rights and property of others. That's it. Your life, your way, as long as you respect others. The golden rule on a political level. That's all you need. So anytime a law crosses my desk, does this let you live your life your way? I'm in favor of that. Does this force you to live your life somebody else's way? No, I'm against slavery.
Yeah. I mean, it's honestly as simple as that. It really should be as simple as that. Up with your views as abortion on governor and how you would handle abortion related bills or executive actions while still upholding individuals' rights.
Do you know, it's interesting because I have a unique point of view and solution for the abortion crisis. I call it defusing the abortion crisis. What we do is make one small change to the law, not to the abortion laws, but rather to the adoption laws. Specifically, what I would like to see is that if a woman does not want her unborn child, any individual or organization can step forward and adopt it while it's still in the womb. Through the privacy of the doctor, they can ask the woman, please bring it to term. There's somebody who wants the baby. And of course, the adoptive parents would pay for all the medical expenses, the delivery and everything. And since there are a lot of babies who are aborted for economic reasons, Vitko, we are guaranteed to reduce the number of abortions. And the woman has the choice. Can you bring it to term? She can say yes or no. That's pro-choice. But because of the economic situation, we will save babies. That's pro-life. We're pro-choice and pro-life at the same time. And it's funny.
And without government funding.
Correct. No government funding. That's terrible. Can you imagine if you think that abortion is murder, that your tax dollars being spent on murder?
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Because if that's an individual person's belief, you shouldn't take that away from them. Just like if someone doesn't believe it's murder and that's their choice.
Correct. It's the same thing, whether it's pro-life or pro-choice. The woman could say, no, I don't want to do it. And there are different steps that go beyond that. For example, if she says no, because it'll get in the way of my job, or no, I can't deliver for medical reasons, you could go only to the 6th or 7th month when you could safely induce or do a cesarean to have the baby born. Yes, it's going to cost more, but the adoptive parents are still going to pay for it. And again, the woman can say yes or no. If she says yes, and there will be some, we'll save more babies. And we still leave the choice to the woman.
Oh, 100%. And there's so many people that are looking to adopt, and they add so many hurdles and make it so hard for like actual parents who really just can't have a child or want to adopt for any reason. It's, they would want to adopt a child. Like, that, I 100% agree that would work.
Now, there's one final step to this, though. What if the woman says, no, I'm not going to bring it to term. No, I'm not going to hold it as long as possible. At that point, I would turn to technology. We routinely perform embryo transplants in the animal kingdom. I would like to see research done, which would spearhead that and make it possible. Now, I realize that it's a difficult thing. It may take 50 years, 100 years, but Vitko, I see a day coming when no unborn child need ever die.
That makes sense. And I think because of the way the wording in like a lot of the bans on research on like fetuses in America is like prevents research of that from even happening, when that's the most pro-life research you could ever be conducting.
That should definitely change. And it's funny because if the woman says no, and the research is not done yet, then we have exactly what we have today, which is essentially abortion on demand. So the only way that this can go is better. We'll save more babies, preserve the woman's right to choose. What else would you want, right?
Yeah.
I've taken this out to the abortion clinic. Sunday morning, they're protesting out here, pro-life, pro-choice, whatever. And I talk to the pro-lifers. I say, here's the way we can save more babies. They love it. I go over to the pro-choice and say, here's how we can get them off your back. They love it. I says, all right, now let's get together and talk. I'm like, no, Nazi, baby killer. It's like Solomon said, let it be divided.
Yep. Yeah. That is funny.
But I will work toward that.
I think that's a great solution. I could not think of a better one myself. I've never even completely thought about it that way either. It's very interesting.
Thank you.
So as a libertarian governor and as like a governor in general, one of your main duties is to be the commander-in-chief of the National Guard. Are you familiar with the Defend the Guard legislation? And would you be...
Bring our troops home, defend the guard. I got more defend the guard stuff lying around here if I could just dig it out. Anyway,
perfect. Because this was a
yeah,
defend the guard question of would you support the defend the guard legislation and protect National Guards from unauthorized federal deployments?
absolutely. The federal
Hmm.
constitution does give a few outs. If there's a
Yes.
declaration of war or something like that, then yes, the feds can take it over.
Hmm.
But we haven't had a declaration of war since World War II.
Nope.
So there is no way that we should have our troops, our Pennsylvania National Guard, be deployed anywhere outside the state, period. Maybe next door in New York State, for example, Hurricane Agnes in 1972. I was a refugee in there. We were camping. We were stuck 10 days in New York State before we could come home. The Pennsylvania and New York National Guard, they worked together. I got fresh bread flown in by the Pennsylvania National Guard one of the days, and it was still warm when we got it right from the bakery. But that's what I would want. I want the Pennsylvania National Guard in Pennsylvania, and as the commander in chief, I would make sure that that happens. Period.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of people don't really understand and didn't understand that our National Guard are all over in random countries we're not at war at. It was really brought to light with the incident that happened in Syria, where we had 2 Iowa National Guardsmen and a translator get assassinated by a rogue Syrian Guards member that had ISIS sympathies, which was we were actually there to be part of the Syrian Guard and help the Al Qaeda affiliate hold Syria against ISIS and also fight against the Kurds. So interesting enough that one of the members who apparently, when you dig deep into it, they were supposed to fire this guy from the Syrian Guard because of his ISIS affiliations and sympathies, but it was a holiday, so they were waiting until Monday to fire him, and the incident took place on a Sunday.
Man.
So
it's enough to make you vote libertarian, isn't it?
It really is. It's a lot to understand. Like, oh yeah, there's Iowa National Guard helping helping Syria's government just stay in power, because without the 900 troops over there, they most likely would lose to ISIS and the Kurds. And it's like, so why are we in Syria and helping that? Who knows?
I don't care. I don't care where it is. And I'll be honest, I'm not smart enough to solve all the international problems. Pennsylvania problems, I can. International problems, I'll leave it to people who like that stuff.
And that's what you're running for governor. And that's, important with defend the guard is, like you said, let the international problems be international problems. And unless we're in war, let's bring the guard home where they're supposed to be.
And, tangentially connected to that is the whole question of ICE, immigration and everything. People say, should Pennsylvania be a sanctuary state? Or what are you going to do? I said, well, as governor, I have no authority to enforce federal law. So I can't do anything about that. And on the other side, if I inhibit federal law, if I get in their way, I could be thrown in jail. So if one way or the other, if I try to enforce federal law, they could take action against me, legal action. If I stop federal law, they could throw me in jail. And Joshing Shapiro, he's the one who keeps saying, oh, no, I'm going to take care of these ICE people. Joshing, you got no authority to stop these ICE people. Come on, man.
Yes. Yeah, I always see, my opinion always was just give it to 10th Amendment. If a city wants to be a sanctuary state, let them be a sanctuary state. They don't want to follow federal laws, cut federal funding. Easy as that. Why are they getting federal funding if they're not following federal laws? And then there you go. Like it simplify it as simple as that. As far as I think the big ticket issue right now is there's a lot of ICE detention centers that are attempting to get purchased by the federal government, and whether or not there's authority to stop, like maybe water from being given to these places, or them using tax funding from the state in order to project.
Do you know, it's really funny because just recently, Joshing Shapiro was trying to stop one from being built in Berks County, just north of you and I in Montgomery County here.
Yes.
And he cited the 10th Amendment, saying the states have the authority to go do what they want with this. It's like, Joshing, you got to look at the whole Constitution. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17 says that the feds have the authority to build needful forts and buildings. That's a needful building. They're enforcing federal law. He has no authority to step in. Yes, there's a 10th Amendment, and I'm a big fan of the 10th Amendment. I will keep the feds from stepping in here without that authority, without their authority. But it's got nothing to do. There is a specific clause saying that they can build these buildings. And again, if I get in the way, If Joshing Shapiro gets in the way, you're breaking the law. You should go to jail.
Yeah. Yeah. I always thought that if we just follow what the guidelines are, we do what the majority of the people voted for, because at the end of the day, like, you had the popular vote of America that voted for this policy. If you think your ideas of government supersede what the American people want, then go live in a communist country if you want to be super in charge and supersede everybody's opinions on things. You know what I mean? That's kind of the whole point
Agreed.
of the constitutional republic that we live in.
Yep.
So yeah, at the end of the day, it does. If he tries to impede on these things, it kind of pushes us towards this whole civil war narrative that everyone's kind of worried about, of states versus federal, and like pushing us towards this little, you know, this friction that we've had, especially in Minnesota, which kind of simmered down with, you know, all of the news cycle being so fast as it is, and everybody de-escalating the situation finally. But
well, you know, maybe you can call me jaded, but I think it
mhm.
dropped from the news cycle because they were told to drop it.
I mean, it always is. It was because just like how the Epstein files were dropped because they were told to drop it. Just how everyone's focusing on Iran, but only positive. And if you say anything negative about what's going on in Iran, the FCC is coming after you. It's the new threat.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a very interesting time.
Yeah.
So,
but let's not dwell on federal things because
exactly, we're in the states.
I'm not
and
paying
really
attention to the feds.
And yeah, and that's how honestly the governor should be. It kind of makes me upset that when I go onto my governor's Twitter, Josh Shapiro, every single tweet has the word Donald Trump in it. And I'm like, dude, like, I don't want to hear about Donald Trump from the governor of Pennsylvania. I want to hear about Pennsylvania. Like, this is getting ridiculous. Like, the Trump derangement syndrome is real, and it's on both sides. It's all on the people who idolize him to the core, and it's also on the people that just can't stop talking about, and their whole existence is anything anti-Trump. So it's like, I'm so sick of hearing all the federal jargon, especially in the state. That's what you should be focused on, Pennsylvania.
Yep, I agree. And Ms. Garrity, the apparent Republican gubernatorial candidate, she is tied next to Trump like, you know, freaking frack. They're both together, which is why I think that Josh and Shapiro is mentioning that so often, because he wants to tie her to Trump. Now, is that going to win for him? Is that going to lose for him? Well, he's winning double digits in the polls right now, which leads me to an interesting point. Because he's leading by double digits, that means if you're a Democrat, it's safe to vote for a Libertarian, because looks like Joshing is going to win anyway. And if you're somebody who's a Republican, you don't need to vote for Ms. Garrity because she's not going to win. So it's safe if you're a Democrat to vote Libertarian. It's safe if you're a Republican to vote Libertarian. So if you want a private education for your kids, if you want to get rid of the property tax, if you want to not have the Pennsylvania National Guard go over the seas, here's your chance to show that support. Because the more support I get, that's how these ideas get spread. Because the old parties will look at it and say, he's getting a lot of traction with that privatize the schools. We'll start talking about that too.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. And I think especially with her, what's coming out with recently is a lot of people are really disillusioned with our relationship with Israel, which is like a big hot budget issue. And it is came out as treasurer, she bought millions of dollars of Israeli bonds using our money after October 7th, which kind of fueled what people consider a genocide in Israel. And that's like a big hot budget button issue, as well as, you know, Josh Shapiro coming out and calling Kamala Harris an anti-Semite for her even asking if he may be an Israeli agent, which is kind of a valid question considering in 1996 he worked for the Israeli government at the Israeli embassy to the United States. So it's not like it's an invalid question. But all of this is kind of like the new hot button issue, especially because the war in Iran going forward. And you know, a lot of these ties do kind of make people not want to vote for them.
Yeah. And, you know, it's interesting because I don't bring up all that stuff. It doesn't matter to me what Ms. Garrity did or what Josh and Shapiro said, with one exception. But because I'm not running against either one of them. I'm running for the people of Pennsylvania. I'm running for parents who are tired of kids not being educated. So, and I got to elaborate on that one thing. I've been calling him Joshing Shapiro because
Hmm.
he and I go way back. He was my township commissioner here in Abington. Then he was my state representative in Abington. While he was my state representative, I think it was like 2005, we went to him for a bill called the Voters' Choice Act, which would lower the signature requirements for independents and third parties. And he sent me in writing, he says, I support free and equal elections, and I will vote in favor of the Voters' Choice Act. Well, Vitko, I'll give you one guess what happened when he came up for a vote.
Oh, he definitely did not vote for that.
I was right there in the chamber when it happened. Afterwards,
Wow.
I'm like, Josh, you said you'd vote in favor of it in writing. He says, well, I got to get 300 signatures in the middle of winter, and you guys have until August. Josh, you guys wrote that law. Don't put it on me. If you don't like it, change it. It's not my fault. Here was your big chance to do that, and you voted against it. You lied to me, Josh. So I don't call him a liar. I call him joshing. He was joshing when he said he supports free and equal elections.
Hey,
man, my state. Thank you.
Yeah. So you do have some personal experience with him. So I guess that does segue me into one of the questions I wanted to ask, which was ballot access, because it does remain a hurdle for third parties in PA. What is your strategy for, gathering signatures and grassroots support ahead of the 2026 primary?
Well, there's a couple answers to that. The first one is I would like to see the law change with something like what we're calling the Political Party Equality Act. And what that will do is eliminate entirely the process we have now. Instead, the Republicans have their party rules. The Democrats have their party rules. We Libertarians have ours. We choose our candidates according to our party rules, and they go directly onto the ballot, period. No signatures, no challenges, nothing like that. The Political Party Equality Act, and you can go to politicalpartyequality.org to see some of the details of that. And in order for independents who are not political parties, they don't have their own party rules, they use the same signature requirements that Democrats and Republicans are using today. If it's good enough for the two old parties, it's good enough for independents too. So that's what I would do once I'm governor. Matter of fact, I'm championing that now. I'm a member of the Ballot Access Coalition, which is libertarians, Greens, communists, Naderites. We all believe in one thing, fair ballot access. We disagree on everything else, but that one thing we work together. We're the ones who put together the Voters' Choice Act that Joshing voted against. We're also working on this Political Party Equality Act. The Pennsylvania Constitution, Article 1, Section 5, says all elections shall be free and equal. But I still have a $200 filing fee or something like that. That's not free. And now I've got to get 5,000 signatures to get my name on the ballot, even though Joshing only needs 2,000. It's not equal.
Yeah.
It's better than it used to be. When I ran in 2002 against Ed Rendell, I needed 21,000 signatures to get on the ballot. We made a federal case out of it and went all the way to the Supreme Court. 3 times I've been a plaintiff on that case. The third time, judge says, you're right, it should be better. He said to the legislature, fix this. And the legislature came back and handed a bill which raised the number of signatures. And the judge says, that's not what I told you guys. Just like 5,000. That's it. 5,000. So there's only a judge's decision upholding this. At any moment, the legislature can say, oh no, we're changing that. We're going to make it 21,000 again. And the worst year was in 2006, where it was 67,000 signatures to get on the ballot. Man. And one other story about that. There was a Green guy, Carl Romanelli. He got on the ballot. He turned in 98,500 signatures, a record in Pennsylvania. Democrats dragged him into court, invalidated signatures one after the other, got him below that 67,000, kicked him off the ballot, fined him $80,000 for Department of State costs, signature analysis costs, court costs, this cost, that cost, stamps, $80,000. And after that race, nobody in the third party was in any statewide race. President, yes, but other than that, when I ran in 2002 for governor, I was the last third party candidate or independent for governor all the way up to 2018 when I ran again.
Mm.
I didn't want to get sued. I'd lose my house. My wife had divorced me. This is
Yeah.
how much they hate the competition. And it
Mhm.
shows too, because last year in the 2024 election, State House, State Senate, more than half of the seats had only one candidate. If their
Wow.
goal is to stop elections, to stop competition, they succeeded. They turned us into a communist country. One person, vote for that person, or write somebody in. How often does a writing campaign succeed? Man, now you got me started because this is close, near and dear to my heart. Because I'm the one who's out there in the rain and train stations at 6 o'clock in the morning, bothering commuters. Excuse me, you want to sign to get me on the ballot, please? Sign, please, please.
Mhm.
Anyway, other than that, how'd you like to play, Mrs. Lincoln?
Yeah. No, but I really do think that is super important. And as you said, like in the Pennsylvania Constitution, we should have free, equal elections. The fact that it's ballot access is such a hurdle, and not just Pennsylvania, but like so many different states, is just like a
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous. Just they really are scared of true liberty candidates. And really what it is as long as they're
Yep.
not one of the in the party, in the grind, one of the duopoly candidates, like they understand the danger of somebody who actually stands for something and has principles getting elected, and they
Uh-huh.
try their best not to let it happen.
Yeah. People ask me why I don't go the Rand Paul route, because they're
Hmm.
libertarians, but
Yeah,
they run under the Republican label.
correct.
My integrity won't let me do that. I'm not going to
Mm,
wear the enemy's uniform. I'm not going to fool you into thinking I'm one of them. You say, "Oh, you're a Trumpster." No, never.
yeah. Yeah, because it's
I,
hard to
I,
avoid those labels when you put the big R on your name. You're automatically MAGA, or a neocon, or yeah.
I'm not only proud that I'm a libertarian, I'm smug about it because
Yeah.
your your life your way, not their way.
Hmm.
Period.
And I guess that would bring into the last question I had, which, as a libertarian governor, how do you think it would work with a divided legislature, Republican Senate, Democratic House, and advancing
Um,
reforms without compromising principles? Is it possible?
that's the best part of all this because Pennsylvania, the state legislature is very closely divided. It teeters
Yeah.
back and forth. Now,
Hmm.
we libertarians, Democrats agree with us on personal freedom issues like ending the war on drugs. Republicans agree with us on economic issues like lower regulations, lower taxes, things like that. Me, I could stand in the middle. And when the Republicans are doing something with economics, I can vote on their side. When the Democrats are doing something with personal liberties, I can vote on their side. I could be the balancing vote, one against the other. They will have to come to me for support for what they want to do. And the only thing I'm going to support is your life, your way, period. I said period 6 times now. I should be careful about that.
Hey, but perfectly said. I wouldn't put it any other way. So thank you so much for doing this interview. I'm going to get your QR code up. This will take you right to your website, kenkforpa.com. Scan the
Yep.
QR code. Please support any way you can, volunteering, donations, any way possible.
Mhm.
Um, really appreciate you doing this. I'm actually gonna be able to pull up your website here to show everybody what it looks like. So you can come here if you want to volunteer. You can just click I want to volunteer here. If you want to donate, if you want to
Mhm.
donate here, and you have lovely, lovely information all throughout this website, which was able to make this interview so easy since you lay out your campaign strategy so eloquently, and you're the
Thank you.
true liberty candidate. So I really hope we can push this message forward and get the message of liberty out there. So is there
Mhm.
anything you would like to say, close with?
Sure. A lot of people say, Ken, why bother? Well, one thing is, I have, and I expect to again shift the dialogue, move that Overton window to things like privatizing the schools. But people say, Ken, you'll never win. But wait a minute, I can win. Typically, the governor races turnout is low, less than 50%, 40%, as low as 35%. If you crunch the numbers, you can find that all it takes to secure a libertarian victory is to attract the vote of 1 out of 6 voting age Pennsylvanians. 1 out of 6 can end their tricks. So if you're sitting at a table with 5 people and they're saying, no, 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 and you're saying yes, That's all it takes. So I'm asking people, please vote for me, Ken Krawchuk, Libertarian for Pennsylvania governor. Because if you keep on voting the way you've been voting, you're going to keep on getting just what you've been getting. And I don't know about you, but I have had enough.
That was awesome, and I couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for inviting me. A pleasure to be here. Great questions, great conversation.
Thank you for doing this, and I'm just really glad to spread the message of liberty to everybody. And I'm hoping that you will become the first ever libertarian governor in the United States. So
that's why I'm doing this.
Yeah. And again, thank you for doing this, and I will see everyone later.